Good afternoon, my conscious co-creators. Welcome to another edition of the Conscious Consultant Hour, Awakening Humanity. I am very, very pleased that you are all here with me today. We've got another fascinating show in store for you today with a wonderful gentleman who I'm looking forward to bringing on. But first, of course, we have our blog post from a couple of years ago, and it must be pretty accurate from a couple of years ago because of what the topic is, and very apropos for today's conversation. And today's blog post is entitled "Being Aware of the Energies That Influence Us Only Helps." Many things affect our energy. Shifts in the seasons or in the year can have an impact. We often do not even notice the change, yet others around us can see the difference in us. Every change in the environment has an influence on how we feel, and how we show up in the world is affected by those influences. This is why astrology and numerology can be so insightful. For even when we are unaware of the impact of numbers or the planets in the sky, the subtle energies still show up in our daily lives. We can harness the power of these subtle energies to support what we are doing if we do not ignore them. Learning what is energetically supported by the current month or current year gives us clues. They help us to consider what to focus on if we want to have an easier time of developing that aspect. Even nature gives us clues on how to use our energy wisely. For in wintertime, rest is supported. Spring is about planting the seeds of the future and the renewal of life. Summer is about growth and activity, and fall is about harvesting and reaping the rewards of what we planted earlier in the year. There are so many ways to look at what is influencing our energy. Even now, as the lunar new year has begun, at this time it was 2 years ago, we entered the year of the dragon. Since then, we've been in the year of the snake, and now we're in the year of the horse. So for this year, we have the energy of prosperity, luck, expansion, and power being supported. All these traditions did not develop out of the blue. They were formulated over many generations through observation and calculation. We do not even know how old astrology is. So in this age of Aquarius, in this season of winter in the Northern Hemisphere, in the year of the dragon, perhaps we can feel into what energies are at play in our own lives. To be conscious of what might be affecting us and what influences are around us only helps. If we are to engage in an activity that we can look to see if it is supported by the current energies or if there might be some resistance. This does not mean that we just stop what we are doing if it is not fully aligned with the energies of the time. Yet it can be a call to notice what is being supported and perhaps find a different way to go about achieving what we are looking to do. Learning to dance with all the influences of the environment around us only helps to find what we are looking for. They do not dictate our lives, yet we can take advantage of them to help make our endeavors more graceful. So again, this is 2 years old, so it's really quite interesting that we've yesterday was actually the start of the new lunar year. And in the Chinese calendar, this year is the year of the fire horse. Last year was the year of the snake. Um, and so it was interesting because in talking to people, it seemed like last year was a year where people were shedding lots of things. It was a year of transformation. And this year, the year of the fire horse, think of a horse. It's about galloping forward, moving forward. It's about taking bold action. It's about trying something new. It's about, running forward with whatever endeavors you're working on. This is also a 1 year. 2026 is 1 year. Last year was a 9 year. So a 9 year is a year of completion. A 1 year is a year also of new beginnings. So again, it doesn't mean we have to start anything new this year. It doesn't mean that we have to let these energies dictate, our whole lives. But if we're mindful of these energies, we can take advantage of them. If there's something we've been holding back on that, we haven't started yet, that we've been thinking about starting, now's the time to do it. If it feels like things have been stagnating or things actually you've been shedding, letting go of stuff, this year you've let go of these things to move forward. So there's a lot of ways in which if we just pay attention to what's going on around us through all these different systems and numerology and astrology and the Chinese zodiac and those are just a few of many, many, many systems that talk about the energies of where we are and what's happening. So I wrote this blog post because again, it was the turning of events, but it really more just to let you all just inform you all about being mindful, being aware, doing a little investigation yourself, and see if it resonates or not. We all have our own unique expression in this world, in this life, and our expression, how these energies affect us, will be a little bit different from the person next to us. It's just, I feel like if instead of ignoring these cycles, instead of ignoring the indications that these systems give us, if we lean into them, it actually will make life a little easier. It will make whatever we're working on, whatever we're looking for, we'll know what's being supported and what isn't. It's like when Mercury is in retrograde, that's the big one. People know it's, communications get all screwy, but it's a time to review, a time to renew, a time to reevaluate things, to relook at things. It's usually not too good a time to start something new. But once Mercury moves out of retrograde and it's moving in forward motion, that's a good time to then move forward. So if it means like starting something new, like waiting a week to start something new, if it's not a big deal, why not? I know for myself when I pay attention to these things and I look around the world and I look around my own life, I find it makes sense. And I see it all around me. So um, I personally find, it's fun and it's helpful to just pay attention to these subtle energies. And even if you're skeptical, even if you don't believe it, that's okay. Educate yourself, be aware of it, and then see if it does, if life around you does indicate that, yeah, this might be something to pay attention to or not. Maybe not. I don't know. I always say, don't believe a word I say. Just try it on, see if it fits you, see if it supports you, see if it helps. If it does, great. If it doesn't, move on. No big deal. I just want to empower people to have the best opportunity to make the most out of this life. So that's my blog post for this week. It is entitled being aware of the energies that influence us only helps. And of course, you can always find my blog post on my brand new personally branded website, theconsciousconsultant.com, and of course on the station's website at talkradio.nyc/blog. All right. It is now my pleasure to welcome to the show uh, Philip Brulard. Did I get that right?
Brouillard in French,
Ah,
so
Bruyard.
it's not a
Uh,
pronunciation usual in English. So
yeah, I got that Bronx accent. I can't help it. Who is a PhD candidate, a consciousness researcher, and co-author of the new book, Rethinking Happiness. After building a seven-figure business before the age of 35, Philippe found himself confronting an uncomfortable truth. External success had no meaningful correlation to internal stability. That realization was so profound, he walked away from the business world to pursue a doctoral research into quantum science of consciousness and happiness, determined to understand why so many high achievers feel empty despite winning. Philippe challenges the fundamental assumptions behind the modern self-improvement culture. Why does therapy liberate some and entrench others? Why do we treat happiness as something to achieve rather than something to access? Drawing on research that bridges quantum physics, neuroscience, and consciousness studies, Philippe reveals that most of us are trying to fix surface level problems instead of shifting at the identity level, the level of the observer itself. His findings show measurable improvements in well-being, suggesting that transformation does not come from doing more, but from being differently. Welcome to the show, Philippe.
thank you, Sam. Thank you.
Wonderful. So, I'm curious, it's interesting. Normally, people I meet who get involved in this kinds of stuff, into researching spirituality, quantum physics, the nature of reality, consciousness. Usually, it's because there was some difficulty or some challenge fitting into like the regular way of life, that the idea of like going to school, getting a job, making lots of money, it didn't quite sit well with them. But usually that they're not always quite so successful. But you had a successful business. You probably, on the outside, most people would say, wow, like you really had it all. What was it that got you to step back and question and look at all this stuff and walk away from that? Because I'm sure that was not necessarily an easy decision for you to make.
That's for sure. But so if I do a little story short, like at 5 years old, I said to my parents, like, je vais changer le monde. So meaning I'll change the world. I want to change the world. At 14, I wanted to quit school because school for me felt meaningless, even if I like top tier IQ. So they were like, you need to stay at school. You're intelligent. It's important. But I felt just it was meaningless. We didn't learn anything.
Hmm.
Why are we studying this? Because, like, what is the link with life? I don't know. So it was always the same thing. And my kind of exit strategy at school, at some point, I was 21 in Canada and mogul skiing. So high performance athlete in that world. But even then, if I felt amazing when I was in the air while skiing, like it like complete silent, fully connection, flow states, I felt that there's still something missing. So I quit that.
Hmm.
I went to drugs, trying to find some meaning, some experience, some feelings, but I'm like, it doesn't last. So
Hmm.
I'm thinking maybe that's not the right thing to do. Then I went to spirituality and like retreats, therapy, and so on. I was like, yeah, yeah, but still something missing. So I'm like, maybe that's what we learn at school, that it's about business, about making success and getting stuff and making money and so on. But even that, like you were saying, everything on paper was this. It was a functional miss in practice. So impact was there. We were making a difference. Money was
Hmm.
there. Like on paper, everything was there, but still inside, it was still not there. So
Yeah.
it's like, what's the next place to look? Science. So that's why I went to quantum science, study consciousness, and and do consciousness research and did my thesis specifically on this. And it's really when I started to see people shifting on what I was teaching, I was like, okay, we're going somewhere with this,
Mm, mm.
which was
W-
very
w-
different compared to what I've done in the past.
Was there some initial a person, a book? I mean, was there something that um, that kind of like pulled you in the direction of quantum physics initially, or was it just
Not
natural
necessarily.
because
So,
you were
for
already
example,
exposed to things?
so I started quantum physics 6 years ago, and so I'm finishing my PhD as of now. But I saw What the Bleep Do We Know that was talking about those things like 20 something years ago. So I felt like all of those things were very interesting. But it's like everything I've done over the years, I've done like so many certification in coaching and spirituality and energy work and so on. But I never felt there was like that was the thing. I did a lot of things on consciousness business also. I've got an MBA. So it's like everything I've done was like, yeah, it's good, but it's so when I was like, I need to get out of the business, I had no idea what to do. I was like,
Hmm.
what's the next thing? So I started to search online to try to find different things that I didn't really touched and went deep in it. And I landed on a university called Quantum University. And I was like, oh, that's interesting, but it's really still health. And I was like, that's not where I want to go. Searching and searching. This is where I landed on Dr. Amit Goswami, which is a pioneer and the subject matter. He's now 88 or something like this.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's interesting. A very different way of seeing life. Because when I
Hmm.
was 5 years old, I was like, we changed the life, we need to change the world. But I was like, there's something I'm not understanding.
Hmm.
And when you do therapy or energy work or retreats, there everybody's like, believe in it. Okay, but why?
Hmm.
It's like this fundamental why was never answered from school, from spirituality, and so on. But Dr. Amit Goswami tried to understand like the true nature of reality, how things works, like what the science of perspectives was like. That's very interesting. So somebody that's doing a lot of work, he was a nuclear physicist. His dad was a Hinduist priest, so like a bit like my dad. My dad was a medical doctor and at the same time very spiritual. So those things were already in my life, but like bring the gap between the two when I had the conversation with him for admission, I was like, I think that's the thing. But then I
Hmm.
did the first year, it was like always getting A plus, always getting the best grades, but I was not understanding anything. I was like,
Hmm.
maybe that's not the right thing. But then they had a student to say, somebody want to teach the first years. So I'm like, yeah, I want to do that. We all know the best way to learn is to teach.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm like, let's go. So then I was like, okay, I need to simplify, 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 because even I was not understanding. So I'm sure I was not the only one, but nobody never talked about that. And then I started teaching, and some were like, oh, I finally understand something. I was like, that's interesting.
So, so when you started to teach and you felt you really understood it, were there any shifts in your life? Was there any sort of external manifestation of really getting this stuff?
So what I understood, the more I understood the concept of what I was understanding of the concept of reality, what life is, what's the meaning of life,
Hmm.
the more I become detached of how things needs to be done. The
Mm,
more freedom I get, the more happiness I become.
mm,
Because it's like if we're born and we're like, this is the game, but we don't question the rules of the game and just play them by default. And then when thing doesn't work, oh, let's try to fix this.
mm,
Let's try to fix this. Let's do therapy for this. Let's do therapy for
mm,
that. But we never question what are the rules? What is the game?
mm,
So what life? What's the meaning of life? Why are we here?
mm,
Like if we look in the spiritual texts, it's we can talk about Buddhism, Hinduism, the Kabbalah, the Hermetic heritage from the Egyptian, the shamanism. What they were doing was studying life. We're
Hmm.
trying to understand those things. Now in spirituality, like, oh, we believe in oneness, we believe in this, we believe in that, but we never question things. We never debate. We never try to understand the meaning of what we're understanding. Most of the time, there's not really understanding. There's a, this is what it is. So Buddhists, for example, they would read a sacred text. They're going to debate on it. They're going to meditate on it. They're going to reread it. They're going to debate on it. They're not
Hmm.
finding the right answer.
Hmm.
In our world, we're like, what's the best answer?
Hmm.
In their world is like, what's the meaning of things?
Hmm.
So now we're like, oh yes, I'm following what Hinduists are saying, like everything is oneness, or everything is Brahman, everything is this. And then some would do just breathing things, and some would do just meditation. And but it was a whole package.
Right.
Now we become expert in one thing, but we don't integrate. Like
Hmm.
we know everything is one, but now we do everything separate.
Hmm.
So there's kind of the, we're good to be like expert in something, but we're not understanding the whole concept.
Hmm. Hmm. Okay. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, let's talk about what is it that you learned from quantum physics that you think most people don't get or don't understand, like that's they're just not conscious of in their day-to-day life, and then how that relates to happiness and why you know your book is not Rethink Quantum Physics, it's Rethink Happiness.
Mhm.
So there must be a reason why you focused on that. So I want to
Perfect.
dive into that right after this break. So everyone, please stay tuned. You're listening to the Conscious Consultant Hour, Awakening Humanity. We do this show every Wednesday now at 12 noon Eastern Time, right here on talkradio.nyc and all over social media. And we'll be right back with my guest, Philippe Brulard, in just a moment.
Are you a conscious co creator? Are you on a quest to raise your vibration and your consciousness? I'm Sam Leibowitz, your conscious consultant, and on my show, The Conscious Consultant Hour Awakening Humanity, we will touch upon all these topics and more. Listen live at our new time on Thursdays at 12 noon Eastern Time. That's The Conscious Consultant Hour Awakening Humanity, Thursdays 12 noon on talkradio.nyc.
You're listening to Talk Radio NYC. Uplift, educate, empower.
So, Philippe, what is it that you learned when you went in to really study this whole field of quantum mechanics that you learned about the nature of reality of this universe of how we show up in the world that that you learned that would so different or that most people you think in the world just don't understand, don't get, and are unaware of?
So a famous concept in quantum physics is the entanglement, quantum entanglement. So when two electrons, for example, connect together, even if we separate on the other side of the world, whatever I do to one, the other one react in the same way instantly. There's no delay.
Hmm.
So a lot of people would say, "Oh yeah, it works in the quantum world." So at the under the atoms level, so electron, proton, quarks, and whatever are the other little things in the world. But they're like, okay, but it works also in the human being. So there's a study in 1982 with Jacobo Greenberg Zibelbaum that was done in Mexico. So what they did, they took two groups of people. One groups that connect, which they meditate for 20 minutes, and the other groups just sat down in the waiting room waiting to do something which they didn't know. And then we send like two people, one person A, person B, in Faraday chamber. Person A Faraday chamber are places where there's like no signal, nothing can pass
Hmm.
through the wall, so it's really protected. So, for
Right.
example, if you put your cell phone in there, no signal, nothing works.
Hmm.
There's a lot of things are protected from that space. So what we do, we send light flashes and sound flashes to the person A, and we look how the brain reacts. So
Hmm.
if we know in neuroscience, those kind of things, the brains goes all over the place because there's things flashing all the
Hmm.
time. And so we do this to person A. So we look the first group, which meditate for 20 minutes. We look brainwave A is reacting, and then we look brainwave person B, which doesn't see any brainwave, it doesn't see any light flashes, any sound flashes, and his brain is reacting at the same time, exactly the same way as the person A, which is
Hmm.
here, it's technically impossible based on our definition of what things are supposed to be.
Hmm.
And then you do group B, which is exactly person A react and person B does not react. They're not
Hmm.
connected. So then this question, the fact is like the first group were acting as one during that time because
Hmm.
there's no difference. The brain react the same way and the same time. There's no delay. But the person on the other group, no reaction. So exactly what we can predict in our world. And then there's like this in spirituality, we talk about this oneness. So in quantum physics, we would say everything is one in possibility. Everything has the possibility to be one. And we've seen for the first group, they meditate 20 minutes, they connected, and they become one. So what you
Hmm.
do to one, the other one react at the same time. So now it's on not only in the quantum world where everything is super small that we cannot even see, but it's happening also in us. And funny or not, we're made from the same electron, same photon, like we're all made of that. So we're in some ways we're a quantum being also, where
Hmm.
everything become possible in some way. So now you're like, okay, that's interesting. What do we do with this? So we all know, like, for example, the mirror effect. What I do to someone, I do to myself.
Hmm.
But it's like, okay, we all know we're one. Oneness. And spirituality is like one of the concept everybody believe in. But so why are you judging others if you believe you're the same way?
Right.
Oh, yeah, I didn't think of that. So why are
Hmm.
you going to an event, a spiritual event, and every day people are using towels and blankets to lie on the floor, dress down on the carpet that's being clean, and then every day putting back to the hotel for getting clean again. So you're polluting is because you think you're separate than nature.
Hmm.
So there's so many concepts that people knows, but doesn't do any difference.
Right. Right. It doesn't
Even
affect how they show up in the world.
doesn't affect, doesn't change anything. So so we have the paradox of progress that shows this today. So we have the highest level of information as ever. We have the highest level of comfort as ever.
Hmm.
We have the highest level of accessibility. You can order something in New York and get it in the same day
Hmm.
easily. But we're sicker and unhappier than ever.
Hmm.
So knowing things doesn't change much things.
Right. Right. Because it's only in the mind, it's not in the
Only in the mind.
body.
So, yeah, I would say it's all already just only in the brain in some ways, not even the mind.
Mind.
But
Got it. Yeah. Okay. Okay.
so the question is, why are you not studying the stuff?
Hmm.
So we're collecting concept. That's why I said like, I know how to breathe now. I'm doing braiding this. I'm reading. I know oneness. I know this. I know that. But do you question the things?
Hmm.
So for example, in my programs, what I do, so my staff leads sessions. And what we do, we ask them questions to the participant and we send them to breakout groups of 3 to 4 persons to, okay, that's how it is. Even when you read the book, we bring concept that most of the time people doesn't know, but then we ask a question. So to put you on pause and like reflect,
Hmm.
because we have a tendency, we're like, oh, the book is read, check, what's the next book? Or it's
Right.
already, we already have a full list of book and we're like just passing one from after the other.
Yeah.
And one good people were asking when we launched the book, they're like, "What's your number one tip around the book?" Do a book club. It costs nothing.
Right.
You read a chapter, you discuss about chapter. You're trying to understand what it means.
Mm-hmm.
Now we're like a TikTok or a world where like everything's to be super fast. We had fast food. Now we have the
Mm-hmm.
spiritual fast food, which is I call them the psychedelics. We want things fast, easy.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why dopamine is a big trend right now because it's low demands of effort, high reward. It's
Mm-hmm.
nothing to do and you get full reward. So it's easy. So we try to have things easy and get full intense reaction. So that was like, okay, so how can we shift to understand things? So if everything is one, it means there's nothing bad, nothing positive. There's no negative, no positive.
Mm-hmm.
So if I'm having an accident, there's nothing bad, nothing wrong, nothing good, nothing bad. They're like, oh, poor you. Oh, poor you.
Mm-hmm.
If everything is one, then there's nothing negative, nothing positive.
But there is suffering, right? I mean, there are people in
Based
the
on
world
what?
who are sick, dying, in pain.
Okay, perfect. So, what is suffering? We define suffering as something that we don't like
Mm-hmm.
because we associate ourselves with our physical body.
Mm-hmm.
And we think our physical body is everything. But then people in spirituality would say, no, we're not our physical body. So if you're not our physical body, then are you dying? Then we're
Right.
going back to this. So technically, nobody dies if we're not a physical body. It's just the physical material that our soul used to get the experience of living.
Mm-hmm.
But then you got a disease, call it a cancer.
Mm-hmm.
Is it bad? Is it positive? If we're still living a duality, yes, we can say it's bad and it's brings suffering. But if a thing is one, then it's only for raising who you are as a soul.
Mm-hmm. So
And
I'm curious why you decided to focus on happiness. Like that, like there's a lot of
yeah,
ways to
yeah,
talk about quantum physics,
yeah,
but you chose happiness as your focal point.
yeah. So I think one of the main thing at 8 years old, I was called the smiling one. I was kind of always the happy kid. We know that kids are usually happy,
Hmm.
but I was like tagged as being somebody very different.
Hmm.
And it's really during like around 14 years old where I was like, I want to quit school. It's meaningless that I kind of lost it.
Ah.
So my path was trying to find back this childlikeness, this happiness. And in the course, in my PhD, there's a course on quantum happiness. So
Mhm.
my teacher wrote a book on that too. And he defined happiness as how spiritual tradition define happiness. Because you can look in what they're saying of what happiness is,
Mhm.
and they say it's kind of an expansion of consciousness. There's like no difference between happiness and enlightenment because they're saying the goal of life is happiness.
Mhm.
At the same time, they're saying the goal of life is enlightenment.
Mhm.
So we're having right now the highest level. We have an epidemic of mental health,
Yeah.
but I would say it's not. That's not what it is. We have an epidemic of not understanding reality, not understanding what happiness is, not understanding what's meaning is, and
Okay.
then we blame it on mental health. But
Mhm.
mental health is not the problem. It's just the the
The,
the,
the
the
symptom.
ripple effect, the symptom. Exactly. So when we talk about happiness, we're talking about in some ways everything because we have like hundreds of thousands of book on happiness,
Hmm.
the 21 tricks of happiness.
Yeah.
Do this and be happy. But it's still tricks and tools, but you're not changing who you are. There's no difference for me at tools and a therapy,
Hmm.
but you're not transforming who you are at the identity level.
Hmm.
The moment you change your identity, what you change in the quantum physics term, you're changing the observer.
Hmm.
So we know that the observer, when you observe the quantum world, is where you materialize and you create reality. So if you're using a different tools, but you're same observer, yeah, but you'll get something different, but it's almost the same thing because you're the same person doing the same thing.
Right.
I go with what Einstein says, like doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. It's insanity.
In a day. All right.
Now we're doing something different, but it's the same person that does the same thing. So basically, you'll get the little things, but you never will get the full depth of what you're looking for.
Right. Right. So how did you recapture your happiness? What was it that you discovered? I mean, what is it about non-duality
Yeah.
that helped you to recapture your happiness?
Um, so I think the more I go deep down in the rabbit hole of that
Hmm.
world, which is I think never ending in some ways,
Hmm.
um, it's just fascinating how life is.
Mm.
And it's such a blessing to be able to live it. Because when you believe that life is about duality, which mostly everybody does not believe but live as it is,
Hmm.
because they believe unrationally, mentally, consciously, but unconsciously, they're acting very differently. Do you realize everything happened for a reason? Everything is perfect.
Mm.
So you can remove like the meaning and the pressure and the judgment of everything around that. Then you like, whatever happened is perfect. But it's not easy to accept and not easy to learn and to live from that space. But the more you have that, the more you're like, we don't need anything. And
Mm.
like it's something like we experience, like some people that are like fully materialistic before, and then like they starting the spiritual path, and now it's like so much stuff that they had before, it's not needed anymore.
Right.
And then we talk to people that were super successful and they're on their deathbed, so very close of dying. And if you have a conversation or you study those people, they never talk about the success.
Right.
They talk about the connection,
Hmm.
the real happiness, not the pleasureful events that they
Hmm.
experience. They all life shift. Why is that?
Hmm.
Why are we not like studying more those person and like, hmm, we can look about near death experiences. So
Hmm.
funny, people have there are thousands of people getting in studies regarding this. They all say similar stuff.
Yeah.
How is that possible? Like the probability of this being possible is almost none to zero.
Yeah.
But it's fascinating.
Yeah. I noticed that you have a chapter in your book about reincarnation, whether it's
Mhm,
real or not. I mean,
mhm.
if we're everything is one, do we come back as a consciousness in another body, or is it just we're accessing the field of potential?
So there's different ways of seeing it, but if we look at reincarnation data, which is they take kids, usually it's kids around 3 to 6 years old, 3 to 6 years old, because they are being enough able to talk,
Hmm.
but their brain is not fully developed to
Hmm.
disconnect. So the beta brainwave, the rational part, is starting around 6, 7 years old.
Hmm.
And a lot of them would remember past lives.
Hmm.
And then you're like, okay, it can be just a dream, or like, they're like, okay. So the kid is saying that in a past life, he was living in this village, in this house. He put some money somewhere, places hidden, and then the researcher go there and find money.
Hmm.
How is this possible? Somebody's remembering getting shot during World War II and having a birthmark exactly where he got shot. Then you
Hmm.
can like get the records of like this person. This like there's so many studies like this. You're like, so how is it possible?
There's a wonderful, I don't know if it's still on Netflix, but I saw this wonderful miniseries on Netflix called Surviving Death.
Mm,
And they did one episode on reincarnation, and there were these two kids who remembered their prior life and the families. One was like a pilot in World War II who died. and I forget the other one, but they actually were able to research, find the families and the things the kids said about who they were then and what they knew the family said, there was like no way anybody could know that and that it was true.
And this is two out of thousands of
Yeah.
research. Dr. Stevenson is an expert in doing that kind of research. Now somebody's continuing his research because he's getting older. But
Mhm.
there's so many stuff like this.
Mhm.
So then
Okay.
if you believe in that, will you start living differently?
Hmm.
So people would say, "Oh yes, I believe in it." Okay, and then what?
Right, right. How do you
I
show
never
up differently in
I
the
never
world?
questioned that. So that's the
Okay.
thing. Like it's all very nice concept,
Right.
but what?
So we're going to take a break, and when we come back, I want to actually talk about that topic of integration. Like we let's say learn this, it makes sense to us, we believe in it. How do we integrate that into our day-to-day life? What does that look like? And maybe you can also give our audience some tools that can help them to sort of lean in that direction, okay?
Perfect.
Wonderful. So everyone, please stay tuned. You're listening to the Conscious Consultant Hour, Awakening Humanity. We're speaking this hour with Philippe Boulard, author of the book, co-author of the book Rethinking Happiness, and we'll be right back in just a moment.
Hey everybody, it's Tommy D, the nonprofit sector connector, coming at you from my attic. Each week here on talkradio.nyc, I host the program Philanthropy in Focus. Nonprofits impact us each and every day, and it's my focus to help them amplify their message and tell their story. Listen each week at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time until 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on talkradio.nyc.
You're listening to Talk Radio NYC at www.talkradio.nyc. Now broadcasting 24 hours a day.
So, Philippe, we've talked about these concepts, and you've brought up the point yourself. It's like, okay, I believe in non-duality. I believe that our consciousness exists beyond our body, before or after. How do we integrate that into our life? Like you talked about, if someone has cancer, but not seeing it as, leading you to death, which is the end of everything, but it's just a transition point. How do we take this and get it in our nervous system, in our body? Especially we've all experienced so much trauma during life and different things that are hard to metabolize, hard to deal with sometimes. So how do we take all this rich material and use it to really have a quote unquote better life, whatever a better life is?
Yeah. So I'll give different examples. So the first one is, for example, you were naming cancer again with what I was saying earlier. Um, so it's like a car. If we take a car and you're not listening, you remove all the light flashes in the dash.
Hmm.
Then at some point the engine just break out. You're like, oh, that's weird. I didn't have any signal before. The
Hmm.
cancer, there's no difference in cancer and getting like the engine blowing out.
Hmm.
So we have different lights in our body, but we're not listening to what's happening in our body. So that's why at the end, when you present me, it's not about doing more, it's about being differently.
Hmm.
We're so much in the doing phase that we're forgetting that we're feeling things in our body, but it's not important. Let's just do more. Just do more. You go see the doctor. No, it's not important. Everything's fine.
Hmm.
You felt something different, and the doctor says everything is fine. So if you start listening to something in your body, the feelings, what is moving, I'm seeing heaviness, I'm feeling like some openness, some tingling, these are feelings. Your body's talking to you. So if you're not listening to what's happening here, Then at some point you hit the wall, you're like, oh, what happened?
Mm,
Oh, the body's always talking, but
mm,
we lost the science of listening.
mhm,
So like mindfulness is a good way to start doing this, but mindfulness again, it's just a tool to help us understanding what's happening.
mhm,
It's a great tool, but it's not the whole picture. So this is one. The other one is questioning what you're reading. Like I was saying, go to a book club, do something. Ideally, you want to surround yourself that you can have that conversation.
mhm,
It does not cost anything. We do this in my program because we bring it to another level, higher level, but it's such an important thing, but it demands time.
mm.
What do we want? And that's why, like, there's one concept I talk the difference between pleasure and happiness. Pleasure, it's instant. It
Mhm.
doesn't demand much work. It's fun, dopamine rush. It's very intense, but then it disappeared.
Right.
So it's easy to redo again. Happiness is something external, something subtle. It is not intense, but it grows with time.
Mm,
So you're like, okay, I don't feel good today. Let's do something to feel good. We call it happiness, but in reality, it's pleasure. So you feel empty, you fill it with something that's gonna disappear after. Instead of like sitting down, okay, I'm not feeling happy. I'm not feeling good today. And start to pushing something down. It could be food, it could be drinking, could partying, dancing, wherever it is, could be reading a book, could be positive or negative thing, it doesn't matter. Instead of like sitting down, okay, I'm not happy. So if you're not happy, why are you staying there?
mm,
Human being crave comfort zone because we think we're gonna survive even when we're like suffering in that space. So
mm,
you're like, I know I don't doesn't like my job. I stay there because what it's predictable, the money is there, the people I'm
mm,
working with there, like I'm staying there even if I'm unhappy. So many people does that. Yeah, but if I change that I don't know, like try to find the uncertainty, try to find the unknown, try to find a place where it's uncomfortable. Now we're in a time of the Olympics.
mhm,
And you will see like this person win the gold medal because they're like they had adversity.
mm.
So we know to be like the best in sports, almost you'll have adversity. We take Michael Jordan. He was he was not accepted in his school year of the team, like around 15 or something. It was
Yeah, yeah,
you're like, what? Michael Jordan was not good. And yeah, he had adversity. What brought
yeah.
him to the next level? In business, we know like if you had challenges, you'll be a better business person, a better entrepreneur. In our personal life, I don't want adversity, please.
Mm,
It's like we know the rules to be like successful in different world, but successful in our life and how we live. No. So one thing I would say, try to find comfort in the uncomfort.
mm.
So be on those places. The easiest is like, okay, start with something small. It's like start like crawling. People like they want to like jump right away and they're like, I never crawl, and they're like, oh no, it's too intense, I will stop. It's like everything else. We've not been used to do those kind of things.
Right.
We didn't teach what life is. So then you're like, okay, gonna yeah, it's too. It's like, do you want to swim? Yes, I want to swim. Oh, the water is a bit too cold. I won't go to swimming. Like you said, you
So
want it.
one thing I noticed lately, a lot of people are very concerned about what's going on in the world,
Yeah.
between the environment, the political situations, the polarity between people, and how divided it all feels.
Mm-hmm.
That's a reality. Like that's happening whether we're sitting meditating, being happy or not. How can we use what you've learned to help us to deal with this whole big mess
Perfect.
that we're
Yeah.
apparently in, say.
So I'll give a first example. So we talk about this in the book. So it's two-person that met in a concentration camp.
Mm,
So technically, it's a very negative thing.
right.
So they became friends because they were moved from one camp to the other, and both of them survived. And then they met after a couple of times, and they're like, "How's your life?" "Oh, my life is horrible. What Hitler done to us, it's like unimaginable. Like it's depression is there. Like everything is so complicated. Life is like
Mhm.
like almost suicidal." The other person is like, "Oh my God, what we've been through. Life is so amazing. The person is so happy." They live technically the same reality, but the
Right.
expression of it is very different. So you're like 10 years old, you're at school, a teacher asks a question, you raise your hand, you're so excited, I know the answer. You say five, the answer was six. Everybody start laughing. Then you decide, oh, I'm gonna make laugh everybody. I won't take life seriously. It's gonna be fun.
Mm.
The other one is like, never ask a question again, never answer it,
Mm.
because I'll be making sure like to be always perfect and never making mistakes again. Do we judge things by being negative or positive?
Mm.
We know the brain make the past 90% of the time wrong. So we think this is what happened at 90% of the time. It's false.
Really? You mean that our memories are like
Our
90%
memory,
incorrect?
yeah, exactly.
Wow.
90% of what we remember is just the interpretation of what really happened.
Mm.
So, and then I bring back, there's no negative, no positive.
Mm.
Everything is just a mirror of who we are.
Mm.
So is
So, all
pollution?
right, I just want to hold
Yeah,
you there for a
go
second
ahead.
because you
Go
said
ahead.
it's a mirror of who we are,
Yeah.
which goes to identity, which you've mentioned in the
Mhm.
past.
Yeah.
So, how do we use what you've learned to shift our identity in a way that will serve us more or help us to have a happier life,
Yeah.
let's
I
say?
think that the simplest thing to say, but it's not necessarily easy. It's like trying understanding everything is perfect. It's just for
Mm.
my greater good.
Mm.
And my greater good is for the greater good of humanity
Mm.
because I'm part of it.
Mhm.
I would say in spirituality, the spiritual path is a bit like an egoist path in some ways
Mm.
because you need to put your oxygen mask before helping others. So if
Mhm.
you took a flight in your life, that's the first thing they're saying.
Right.
Because if you're not doing this, you cannot help others. And the
Yeah.
more you can grow, the more you can spread that. So we know that like the five people surrounding you have the biggest impact on who you are. Jim Rohn would say that, but like, there's kind of scientific ways to explain this concept.
Mhm.
So if you can raise who you are, you have an impact. And even in happiness, we know that the happier people are, they can impact until 3 or 4 degrees of separation.
Mm.
Meaning like you're my friend, a friend of your friend, and the friend of your friend. If I'm happier and I'm raising who I am, I've got impact on all of those people. So
Mm.
that's why my thesis is called, in some ways, moving from the like the base level human condition, the happiest level at the lowest level of happiness, to a happier society. So I
Mm.
work on the individual, and if we have so much impact on the individual, we'll have an impact on the society.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there's like approximately like 45% of people in my program that were told by people around them, like, oh, you're so much lighter. You're so much joy now. They're like so much positive things in only 3 months. They're like, you inspire other people and you making them
Mm.
believe that it's possible to become lighter, to become freer, to become happier, to react less, to judge less, and those kind of
Right.
things.
Yeah.
So just to give you an example, in my program, there was another statistic that was very interesting because I was asking at the end, did you experience anything very stressful? Based on the signs, those things are the most stressful, like getting divorced, getting fired, somebody close dying or having like a cancer or something. This thing, these are very high stressful events.
Mhm. Mhm.
40, no, 54% of participants didn't experience any of those. They experienced approximately 30% improvement in overall happiness.
Wow.
The interesting thing is 46% of people experience those stressful events during this 3 months.
Mm,
And what we saw, it's approximately 80% improvement in happiness,
mm,
which is here is very paradoxical because technically they should be lower than 30%. And based on technically science, it should be lower than 0%. There should be negative.
right.
But because we shift the way they perceive reality, the way they see life, that
Mm,
every experience, it's for my own evolution.
mm.
And because I'm the observer creating the reality, I'm the one creating those events. Then I realized that everything that happened in my life, I'm the one creating it for my own good.
Are you the creator or the co-creator because you're in a world of other creators?
Yeah, but you're part of my reality, so I'm creating you guys, but you guys are creating me at the same time.
Ah,
But
okay.
we're all the same person, so in some ways, but we've made the experience of being separate, and that's the illusion that Hinduists are
All right.
saying.
Last question, then we got to wrap
Yes,
it up. Do you experience any challenges today? After all you've learned, been through, teach
all the time,
all the time.
all the time. It's life.
Yeah.
And without those, I cannot stop, I cannot grow more.
Mm-hmm.
So, so I live in Mexico, so I felt different challenges now.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm experiencing different things. I'm learning how culture works and those kind of things. And sometimes it's not that easy because you're
Mm-hmm.
like, oh. So we were moving out from a house because the owner was not respecting anything of the contract. He was not repairing things that should be repaired technically and those kind of things. He stopped answering. So we're like, we're just going to move out.
Mm-hmm.
So he came, blocked the hallway. We cannot move out. Police arrive, which we didn't know he paid the police. That's how Mexico works.
Yeah.
So now things were not moving, and like, and like you're not respecting this, and like even the agent of that rented the house, they're like, this is a crazy guy. Da, da, da.
Mm-hmm.
Then one of my friends, Mexican, arrived because he was coming to play with my daughter to help with the move, and he just came in, and at some point he's alone with the police guy. He paid the police guy, and 15 minutes after it's finished.
Mm-hmm.
But during the moment, I was kind of in a stress. I'm like, how do we do this? We're like residents, but we're not citizens. So there's kind of
Mm-hmm.
this this things. It's like his priority in some ways. But I was like, oh, that's amazing. Because when I'm gonna start doing renting and those kind of things, I know how things works. I know
Mm-hmm.
what to do and what not to do and how to deal with things. But like even my business, I do different things. I launched my, so for example, last year I launched a business specifically to my programs and the books, and I put goals that does not make any sense.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not attached to the results,
Uh,
but I'm like, okay, first year, for example, I said 1.5 million, which is insane. Everybody's like, you started from nothing. Yeah, but if I want to change the world and I want to live from the quantum perspective, I have no idea how it is to do this to this. So I'm opening that everything is possible.
mm,
So you open up to synchronicity, to those kind of things. But then you
beautiful.
have something that comes up because you're playing a bigger game.
Right.
So you're Michael Jordan and you play with 15 years old, you'll get bored.
Well, unfortunately, we have to leave it there. We're out of time. Philippe, I could talk with you for hours and hours. Unfortunately, it's only an hour-long show.
Yeah.
If people want to learn more about you, about your programs,
Yeah.
where can they find you online? Can they get in touch with you?
So they can find me on my website, vitaquantum.com, and they can search my name, Philip Bouillard, on social media. I've got French and English accounts on YouTube's, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. It's one account. So just take the right one in that space so you can understand something. But yeah, I'm all over the place as of now.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Again, Philippe Boulard, co-author of the book Rethinking Happiness. By the way, who's your co-author?
My dad.
Your dad.
My dad,
You
yeah.
know, I had a mother-daughter co-authors on my show earlier. So,
Uh-huh.
so you and your father, wonderful, wonderful.
Yeah,
Thank you so much, Philippe. I really
thank
appreciate you
you.
taking the
Thank
time.
you, Sam.
And of course, thank you, my loyal listeners, for staying with us. Without you, there is no show. Please remember on talkradio.nyc, we also have Frank About Health. Take care, everyone. We will talk to you all next week.
You're listening to Talk Radio